Hello, this is Boyd, and I'm going to just take you through a really quick, very basic tutorial. In fact, the concepts in this tutorial are just about as basic as you can get. But these things kind of lie at the base or the fundamental level of what all modelers do, and that is they deal with these three basic elements. What I'm going to do is just kind of put together a real quick procedural object in Max, and that is the cylinder. Now the cylinder is made up of points, edges, and faces. And the way you take a look at this is I'm going to convert this cylinder to an editable poly. And when you look at the basic elements of a mesh, which is what these objects are made up of, you get in the sub-object selection in Max and editable poly, you get a list of these basic fundamental geometric objects. And what I'd focus on here is first vertexes. Vertexes are just a point in 3D space, and they can be described in Cartesian coordinates is basically what they are. And each one of these points is required to build this shape. Now, this shape can be described with fewer, of course. We've got 5 segments up the side of this cylinder, and they're not really required, obviously, for this particular shape. But each one of these points represents a unique point in space, and they're connected by edges, which are the straight segments between points, and they're also connected by faces. Now, a face in Max can be either a polygon like this one, or it can be a triangle, and in most quad meshes, which is what the sides of this cylinder is composed of, is actually 2 triangles. And the way you see those is if you turn on Edit Tries, you can see the hidden triangle in each one of these faces, and of course the top is made up of triangles too. Every basic face in any mesh, the very base level is a triangle. But you can hide the triangles and work with polygons, which is important too. But the 3 basic elements are points, again, vertexes are points, edges, and faces. Now in Max, you've got these other 2 kinds of objects that you can select. One is a border, and a border is if I took and I removed the top of this cylinder, then I would have an open border, and that's what a border is in Max. It's just an open border on a mesh that has a hole. Now, before I removed the top of that, there was no hole, and so there was no border. So if I go back and try and select these edges again, there's no hole, so there's no border. So that's all that selection is. A border really is a subset of edges. And the same thing with an element. An element is a grouping of faces that's contiguous. If I were to take a selection of edges, and if I were to split this, then what I would get is I would get 2 elements, and they end at the split, meaning what I did with splitting them is I separated that mesh into 2 meshes at that row of edges. So an element is a grouping of contiguous faces. So that's basically what these are. Now, we've basically come to the end of this tutorial. In the next tutorial, I'm going to tell you about mesh design and the basic concepts of mesh design and how you arrange points, edges, and faces to start building an object that represents something usually more complex than a basic cylinder. But again, I hope you appreciated this tutorial about the basic fundamental sub-object pieces in Max's modeler, which is this editable poly, points, edges, and polygons, or which is what I call faces. Okay, we'll see you next time. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.